Patriot Nights! Hello, frogs! This is our second to last week of learning, and we're just gonna get right into it. I found some really cool tools to use with Zoom, so I'm hoping that I can do this all with you smoothly. For the targets this week, you are going to focus on applying grade level phonics and word analysis to decode words. And we're going to be talking about using the sounds that make the sound ooh. So we'll talk about that in a minute. And then we're going to write a how-to paper. I'm going to be teaching you my cookie recipe. So you might enjoy cooking some cookies after this if you're really listening and writing it down. And for math, we have a lot going on. We've got something called a function table. It's like a robot. We're going to calculate the information and find out what the number is. And we're going to do some adding of 2-digit and some three numbers together. So let's get right into it. When we scroll down here, we're going to see all the way to this page here, the letters ooh stand for the sound you hear in the middle of moon. And you're gonna see that there's some words here that have OO spelled for the ooh sound, but there's other ways to do it. Sometimes you just have the letter U, as in the word truth. Sometimes you have a UE together that says for blue, but it's still making that ooh sound. And there's another way to do it. EW, new. And you can sometimes get tapped on the shoulder by E to say your name, you. That's the long U sound, tapping the shoulder of the letter U to say ooh instead of which is the short U sound. So this would be tube. And then we've got yet another way to spell that ooh sound, UI, fruit. And last but not least, we have OU, which usually says ow. We talked about that a different week. This week it's going to be saying ooh, as in you. So sometimes it can get a little confusing when you're learning your letters, and you just have to keep trying and practicing, and eventually you're going to memorize all these fun ways of saying the same sound for ooh. Okay, so let's see if we can find our word. Read the first word, then circle another word in the row with the same ending sound. Spoon, is it sock, noon, or both? It's noon. This word would be ooh, grew, peg, goat, flew. So I want you to finish this page on your own. You're gonna practice the ooh sound this week, written many different ways. Okay, next we're gonna move on to our how-to writing. So last week we started talking about how to write a how-to paper, and you can follow these steps about choosing something you're an expert about, listing your materials, introducing your topic, using order words like first, next, after, finally. Use pictures or drawings with labels. And action words: brush, cover, cut, give, kick, lift, mix, squeeze, put. You get the idea. So I love this page here because it has a really good way to organize your thoughts. So if I'm going to do the topic of how to bake chocolate chip cookies, the materials I'm going to need are flour, butter, sugar, eggs, salt, baking soda, chocolate chips, eggs, vanilla, and I think that's it. So what you're gonna do is you're going to have all of your materials listed there. And sorry, I was gonna make that a little different, but I can't figure out how, so I'm gonna move on. So for the first step, I'm gonna draw, after I've listed my materials, I'm gonna draw some pictures. So here I am at the counter, and I'm gonna have to get all of those things that I listed up there. So some eggs, flour, sugar, all that stuff that I just said. I would spend more time talking about it. And I need a big bowl to fit the dry ingredients, and then I need a pan to melt the butter. So there it is. And then the next step would be that I melt the butter on the pan, and then I would, after the butter is melted, I would have to add some sugar in there, cool it off, and add the eggs, cracked, of course, cracked. And then in the big flour bowl, I would add the flour and the salt and the baking soda, mix it all up together. And then I would have to, after I add my chocolate chips, or I would, sorry, for the next step, I would put all the two ingredients together. So when you're writing a how-to, you really have to think about what are the steps you would tell someone that has never done this before, so they don't mix anything else up. So here goes my wet ingredients to the dry. The butter, egg, sugar, vanilla go into the flour, salt, baking soda, mix it up. And then I think I'm going to put my next step right down here, because if I move my screen, you'll see that my drawings will move with it. So I'm going to put number 4's drawings right here on number 3. So number 3 is going to be that I'm going to spoon out the cookies onto the baking sheet, and then number 4 down here would be baking it in the oven. Okay, so when you're drawing your pictures, they're gonna look a little better than mine because I'm using my fingers on my little pad on my laptop, and it's a little bit hard to do, but I'm gonna do it anyway. So here I am gonna type my steps. So, how to bake chocolate chip cookies. First, comma, gather your ingredients. And then it's gonna be flour, salt, baking soda, and then so I would keep going and list out all of the ingredients for both the wet and the dry. But for the sake of time, I'm gonna move on to the next step. Next, melt the butter. See, these sentences are really simple because you're giving people instructions. And I was just thinking, because writers are always trying to change and make things better, you could include up here your, I could include the measurements. So I need 2 sticks of butter, I need 3 cups of flour, that sort of thing. So if I were going to go back and make this better, I would include the measurements for each material. Next, melt the butter, add the sugar and vanilla and eggs when cooled. And then it would be stir the dry ingredients in a big bowl. And then here we have on my, this is why it's really important to draw, because then I can look back and say, what was I doing in that step? Oh yeah. You could say third, because this is our third step. Mix the wet and dry ingredients together. Spoon batter onto the baking pan. Preheat the oven to 375 degrees. And then if you could see my last one, it would say, last bake cookies, and here's my secret, for 8 minutes. Underbake your cookies. That'll make them really yummy and chewy. Serve with milk. So that would be my how-to. I'll try to scroll down just a little so you can see that last part of what I wrote. Last bake the cookies for 8 minutes, serve with milk. So I want you to try all of your how-to with something you're passionate about. And the next thing we're gonna do is look at our math targets. So like I said, we're gonna be like a robot this week, and we are going to be robots inputting and outputting. So these things are called function tables. And what you do is, the rule for what you do is at the top of the table. So if you have the number 14 on your in section and then you do the rule, subtract 7, well, your out result will be that that's 7. If we have the number 15 and we subtract 7, that's going to give us 8. 16, subtract 7, that's 9. And so if you go down, we'll do this one together and then you do the rest of them on your own. The rule says subtract 3. 9, take away 3. I'm going to do touch math. I'm going to say 9, 8. Wait a minute. I want to get a better thing here. 9, 8, 7, 6. Sorry, I'm still learning these little tools. I was hoping that there would be some little dots. Maybe I can put some stamps on the 3. 1, 2, oh, those are really big. Never mind. I am just gonna draw it up here for you. So if I was doing the number 3 and I wanted to do touch math and I wanted to think about where the dots are on the 3, you know, there's 1, 2, 3 dots. So we're going to use this 3 for our function table. If I say 10 and I subtract 3, I can say 10, 9, 8, 7, 11, 10, 9, 8. So you can see there's a pattern here because these numbers are in order: 9, 10, 11, subtract 3, 6, 7, 8. So function tables are like a little calculator for yourself. All right, so if you go down to the next page, it's the same thing, but you're gonna do adding. So this one is really easy. We'll do it together. We're gonna add 1. 2 plus 1 is 3. 4 plus 1 is 5. 6 plus 1 is 7. 8 plus 1 is 9. So you're going to do that with this page. Some of them you're going to add, some of them you're going to subtract. So you have to really pay attention to what the directions say at the top of that function table. And then the next thing we're going to look at is adding 3 numbers together. There's a lot to do in math this week, so hang in there. There are strategies you can do when you see a list of 3 numbers to add together. You might start to worry, oh, I don't know how to do that. But don't worry, take a deep breath, because it's the same thing you do when you add 2 numbers. You just have 3. So there's 3 different strategies that we're going to talk about. And the first one I want to show you is using counting on. So you can just add the numbers together. You could say, well, I know that 6 and 3 together make 9. And then I'm just going to count on, and I'm going to add 8 to that 9. So 9 plus 8 makes 17. So you could do it a lot of ways. You could say, well, 6 plus 8 is 14, 15, 16, 17. You could just do it right in order and count on. Another way you could do it is to think about doubles. So if your list of 3 numbers has a double and you've memorized your doubles, you know that 8 plus 8 is 16, and then you just add the next amount, which is 4. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And then the next strategy is to make a 10. So if you've learned the common numbers that go together to make 10, you can see one right here. Oh, there's a 2 and an 8, that makes a 10. And you add the 6 to the 10, that makes 16. So as you're working through these problems, I want you to look and see, what would you choose? If I notice this one, I see, ooh, I see 7 and 7, that makes the double. And so that's going to make the number 14. And then if I want to add the last number to it, there's a 4 left over. So 14 plus 4 is going to be, oh, look at that, another double. 4 plus 4 is 8. And I bring down the 1. Sorry for my handwriting. And that's 18. Okay, if I look at this other one here next to it, I see 9 and I see 1, and I know that makes 10. So I'm going to use the strategy, make a 10. 9 plus 1 is 10, plus 8 more is 18. And then this one, you could use either make a 10, doubles, or counting on. Well, I think I'm just going to count on. So if I choose count on, I could say 4 plus 6 makes 10. So we're kind of using two strategies there. That's 10 plus 2 more is 12. Okay, so that's what I want you to do for this page, and I want you to try the next ones with your family on your own. And then the very last thing, we have a lot, like I said, we're going to be adding 2 digits together. So here's a review of how to do a 2-digit number plus a 1-digit. You always line up the numbers with place value. So there's 24 plus 1. You can see that the 1 is right underneath the 4 because we're going to add the 1s first and the 10 second. Up here they've done it 4 plus 2 is 6. 5 plus 0 is 5. So the answer is 56. I'm just going to do 1 here with you, and then we're going to move on. So if I see 2 plus 3, that makes 5. And 7 plus 0, that makes 7. My answer is going to be 75. Oh, and that's kind of not where I want it to be. So let me try that again, because it is very important that you line it up underneath. Oh, and it's not going to let me. So let me just draw it. 2 plus 3 is 5. And then 7 plus 0 is 7. There we go. Okay, moving on, we're going to go down and we're going to see what it looks like when you add 2 sets of 2 numbers. And parents, there's no regrouping, borrowing, carrying yet. We're just adding numbers that will stay kind of in their lane there. So you're going to follow the same steps. You're going to add the 1s first and the 10s next. So 3 plus 4 is 7. 2 plus 1 is 3. So the answer will be 37. Let's try this one. 2 plus 2, that's a double. It's 4. And then 8 plus 1 more, I would count on 8, 9. I write my 9 underneath, and the answer is 94. So I want you to try adding those kinds of numbers with your families. And I think that's about it for this week. So I hope that this was helpful. Good luck doing your work, and I'll see you next week for our last week of school. Bye, frogs.